welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober. Thanks for joining me. Today on our program, we'll talk to the curator of an exhibition about Israel's pioneering graphic designer, Otte Walish. We'll see a tribute to the work of filmmaker Moshe Mizrahi. And we'll hear of a convention about the future of film theaters. Otte Walish was a graphic designer and illustrator responsible for much of Israel's early iconography. He decorated the hall in which Israel's independence was declared. He created official symbols for the army and police, and also designed many of the country's first stamps. An exhibition of his work encompassing these designs as well as his commercial work recently opened at the Tel Aviv Museum of Art, and we have curator Emanuela Calo here in the studio to tell us all about it. Thanks for coming in, Emanuela.
Thank you.
So let's start with asking the question, why now? I mean, he hasn't stopped working just recently. He died in '77. What happened that we're getting this exhibition now?
Well, the Tel Aviv Museum of Art has a pretty nice collection of his posters that were donated in the end of the 80s, but till recently the museum didn't have the opportunity to make this exhibition, and now his son who gave us this collection after he died, after his father died.
Right.
And
so with the help of his family, you managed to put something together.
Exactly. And the exhibition contains works from the from the museum, as well as from his son Otte Walish collection.
Right, and this comes after some other major designers of the time already had an opportunity.
Yes.
I mean, he was shown in group exhibition. He just never had this solo exhibition.
Exactly.
But he's definitely worth it. I mean, when we look at his stuff, when we look at the work he made, he really helped define Israel's appearance in those early years. Am I right?
Exactly, and he was a part, as you said, of this group of. We exhibited in the museum 3 of them: Franz Krauss and the Shamir brothers. We also have Krauss posters also in our collection, in the prints and drawing collection in the Tel Aviv Museum. And now it's his time.
Now it's his time. Now, let's talk about his style. This is one of his most famous design. Another one. The style is it's from the Eastern Bloc. It's very Soviet. At least that's what it looks to me. I'm no expert. What does it tell us about the way Israel wanted to appear in those days?
First of all, we're talking about the pre-state period, which is Palestine, not Israel yet. But still, we're talking about the Zionist movement. And he was pretty much one of the people who promoted the values, the symbols, and everything that had to do with this point of view.
Right. He himself came to Israel out of Zionism in the 30s? In the
30s. He came to Israel in 34. And before that, he was born in let's say, in Czechoslovakia, in the Czech Republic. Austro-Hungary, yes. And then he immigrated to Israel in 34, but
and he was already pretty well established as a graphic designer, as an admin.
Yes, he had an advertising office and a graphic design office in Prague, and he already worked with those institutions such as the Jewish National Fund, Keren Kayemet, which we show one of the posters before, and the Palestine Foundation Fund, Keren Hayesod, and others. And he served them already in Prague and in Germany. He did both.
Yeah.
And then his arriving to Israel was pretty much continuous. It wasn't.
And that look, that style, also came into play in his commercial work. There wasn't much of a differentiation between his work for Tnuva, let's say, and his work designing one of Israel's symbols.
No, there wasn't. And as you can see, even on the catalog cover, there is one of the posters representing the product of Palestine. And it was all in the name of Zionism. It was part of this ideology that wanted to promote the products, the local industry and the local products. And
right, which was also part of Israel's approach.
Later,
I mean, we can see, for instance, this is for Tzim, but it has the symbol
of
and
the
everything
state, the emblem
well.
of the state, took from the menorah, which is a part also appears in the emblem of the state.
Yeah. So, how much of this do you think still comes into play today? I mean, obviously, he helped define the look of the early years. Does it still have an influence? Does it still have an influence on today's designers?
There is a lot of interest around those things. Lots of designers like to see it, come to the museum collection sometimes to see those things. And there is a lot of interest in this kind of
there's also some nostalgia to it. You know, when I look at it, I think, wow, that's Israel in simpler times.
It's part of our culture.
Even though he died before I was born. So it still speaks to...
It's part of your DNA, of my DNA, in the terms of culture.
Yeah. Well, it's a gorgeous work, and thankfully now we can come to the museum, see it all in one place. Emanuela, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the only Israeli director to win an Academy Award so far is Moshe Mizrahi. That happened in 1978 with the French film Madame Rosa. But more recently, his debut feature, The Traveler, received a special screening after never being shown in Israel. Shachar Peled has the story.
1970s Israel. A young filmmaker, Moshe Mizrahi, chose a controversial story for his first ever feature.
The difficulty to accept the idea, even though it was very much documented at the time, that a Nazi war criminal could come and hide in Israel.
Although a candidate for the Golden Globe and nominated for that year's Golden Bear and the Berlinale, Mizrahi's film The Traveler remained far away from the Israeli theaters.
In 1970, some 20 years after the establishment of Israel, the Holocaust was still a very sensitive issue. The story of a German extermination camp commander disguised as a Jew was based on a true story, and I think people preferred to deal with other things.
Born in Egypt, growing up in Israel and working in France, Mizrahi's multiculturalness was deeply reflected in the forgotten film. 45 years later, it was screened publicly for the first time at the Cinema South Film Festival.
Once I understood what treasure I found, we decided to fund the restoration of the film. Moshe sat in the editing room and fixed the colors.
Since I haven't seen that film for almost 50 years, I was a little bothered. Will I remember the real colors that existed when I shot the film?
Yet the vivid colors of 70s Eilat, today a hotel-crowded resort but back then an isolated oasis, have been remarkably restored. From that starting point, Mizrahi was set out to conquer the world with a back-to-back Academy Award nomination for 2 of his Israeli films.
Oh, Madame Rosa.
Accepting the award on behalf of Madame Rosa from France, Moshe Mizrahi.
But I had to wait another 3 or 4 years to come to Hollywood with a French film to get the Academy Award.
84-year-old Mizrahi today remains the only director in Israel to hold an Oscar. He was also the one who brought American actor Tom Hanks, then in the early stages of his career, to star in an Israeli film called Every Time We Say Goodbye.
I'm the one who trusted him to be able to be a romantic actor in films, and it gave him the ability to do more serious films like Forrest Gump and Philadelphia.
Mizrahi's contribution to the Israeli and French cinema industries remains unequivocal. Although long past retirement age, he continues to teach film students and to pass on his experience and legacy, certain a good story is always worth the effort.
In a moment, we'll hear about the future technologies of cinema, but first, our cultural recommendation for today.
Gian Lorenzo Bernini was one of the greatest artists of the Roman Baroque, a multi-gifted sculptor, architect, and painter and designer of festive events and ceremonies. Portraits of the Soul is an exhibition dedicated to illustrating the Italian artist's complex relationship with Spain. Diplomatic and political relationships between Rome and Spain were reflected in the commissions Bernini received both from Spanish patrons, including the monarchy. For example, when Philip IV wished to be represented in diplomatic, religious, and political terms in Rome, funding projects in some of the city's most important churches. Bernini's own development as a multifaceted artist was greatly influenced by his complex relationship with Spain, and it can be viewed in this exhibit, which revolves around 3 sections that illustrate his relationship with the Spaniards.
And now it's time for Shachar Pellet's segment, Offscreen.
Are you dead? How
Hello,
are you?
Shachar. I'm wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, we've been covering a lot of festivals, film festivals, of course, but today we're going to focus on Cine Europe, which not many people know about. It's actually a convention of cinema exhibitors taking place in Barcelona starting today, and it's actually a very good place where these people who are actually those who make it possible to see the films gather and discuss the latest inventions in cinema. For example, the latest taste of popcorn. I hear Parmesan garlic is the next big thing, and of course new theatre seats and everything that's technical and hip. But not only. These days, as the event manager says, studios are truly stepping up their game to do more in-depth and spectacular presentations, meaning we're seeing more Hollywood stars, more premieres, more first screenings in this very technological convention.
They have to, though. You know, nowadays they have to be on the cutting edge to make us want to go to the cinema more and not just watch at home on our huge TV.
And this is their way of attracting attention. For example, this week they will premiere Everest, the all-star disaster movie everyone's waiting for, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Josh Brolin and Keira Knightley, some of whom will be in this exhibition. And it's the first time the full-length movie will be screened ahead of its September release. And this is big news. Seeing this film for the first time, it's just like any other big festival. Also, for the first time, clips of Steven Spielberg's new, very anticipated The BFG, the Big Friendly Giant film, adaptation of Roald Dahl's very famous book, already set to be released in the summer of 2016 and has a very good momentum, but screening it here, or clips of it, in this cinema, Cine Europe, very much helps the buzz, and also helps these theatre owners adapt it to their Dolby Atmos screens. They also give out awards. This year, Cine Europe will present its 2015 International Filmmaker of the Year award to the director Guillermo del Toro for being one of the most creative and visionary artists of his generation. We definitely agree to that. And there's also going to be a very, I think, one of the biggest conversations in the discussion this week. This year will be about 4D cinema. There's already 530 screens worldwide with 4D, and I see you laughing.
Yeah, I am laughing. With 4D? Well, that's 4D?
Well, let's explain. This is some kind of version of 4D.
The fourth dimension is time.
Yes, it's true. But when we say 4D in cinema, we mean moving seats and sometimes the additional sensory experience of smells and wind and fog. Yes, absolutely. But there's all kinds of new technologies. 4D is this time going to be discussed because in the past 18 months, it has been doubled in the screens worldwide, the amount of 4D. And once again, not only technology, but the screenings there are usually a thermometer for film's success. Though I have to say that, for example, at Cine Europe 2013, one executive said this movie is going to be huge following a Disney presentation of The Lone Ranger. So we know how that ended up. Elsewhere, there was
Plus, I have to say, I think we're going to 4D because 3D failed.
Well,
you know, that's just my point of view.
That might be an explanation.
And I have, you know, you heard of Quentin Tarantino? He's kind of on my side of on this
he's
because
very much
he's
against it.
He's going against it. He's actually making sure that there are theaters that can screen The Hateful Eight in 70mm.
Okay, well, since these people thought The Lone Ranger and The Monuments Men will be a great success, I think Tarantino has a point.
Might have a point.
Yes.
Thanks
Thank
so much.
you.
That's it from us for today. I hope you enjoyed our show. You can find all of our past shows online, i24news.tv. That's our website. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us there and write to us. And of course, I will see you all again tomorrow.